Good service is the lifeblood of a healthy business. It is what keeps your customers coming back, time and time again. Conversely, bad service can poison a brand's reputation with alarming speed, driving away even the most loyal patrons. For managers, understanding the precise points where service fails is not just an academic exercise. It is a critical business imperative. One of the most effective tools for this task is the SERVQUAL Model. This simple yet powerful framework helps to diagnose service quality issues by identifying 5 specific gaps. Each gap represents a potential breakdown between what a customer wants and what a company delivers. By understanding and methodically closing these gaps, any organization can significantly improve its service, retain its customer base. The model begins by examining the customer's initial expectations. It then compares this to what the company's management team believes those customers want. From there, it scrutinizes the service standards and designs the company puts in place. Following that, it looks at the promises the company makes to its customers through its marketing and communications. Finally, it measures what the customer ultimately feels they received from the service encounter. The discrepancies that arise between each of these stages are the 5 gaps. In this discussion, we will explore each gap in detail, providing a clear real-world example and offering simple, actionable fixes that managers can implement immediately. This framework is not about complex theories or abstract concepts. It is about practical, on-the-ground reality. It provides a map that shows exactly where the journey from customer expectation to customer satisfaction goes off track. By using this map, managers can stop guessing what the problem is and start taking targeted action. The very first and arguably most fundamental gap is the knowledge gap. This gap represents the difference between what your customers actually expect from your service and what your management team thinks they expect. When managers are operating on incorrect assumptions, every subsequent decision, plan, and strategy is built on a faulty foundation. This gap often arises from a lack of thorough customer research, a tendency to listen only to the loudest or most convenient voices, making educated guesses instead of gathering hard data. It is the classic problem of being out of touch with the very people you are trying to serve, leading to misallocated resources and misguided efforts that fail to meet genuine customer needs. Consider this straightforward example. A mobile phone company's management team firmly believes their customers prioritize a low monthly price. Acting on this belief, once you have accurate knowledge of what your customers want, the next challenge emerges, translating that knowledge into a concrete plan. The design gap is the chasm between knowing what customers expect and designing service processes and standards that actually deliver. This gap occurs when a company has good intentions but fails to create a clear, actionable blueprint for employees to follow. The service rules might be vague. The service rules might be incomplete. The service rules might be entirely missing. Without well-defined standards, service delivery becomes inconsistent and chaotic. Employees are left to their own devices, guessing how to perform tasks. Imagine a popular neighborhood cafe that, through customer feedback, knows morning customers are in a hurry. They want coffee served quickly. The cafe manager understands this need, but there is no standardized system for taking orders, no standard for preparing drinks, no standard for handling payments during the rush. One barista takes 3 orders at once, while another focuses on a single complex drink. The result? A disorganized workflow, long wait times, a line of increasingly impatient customers. Even though management knows what's required, the absence of a well-designed process means they can't execute it effectively, and customers go to the competitor. Section 4. Gap 3. The delivery gap. Is your team following the plan? Even with a perfect plan in place, service can still falter during execution. The delivery gap, sometimes called the execution gap, occurs when a company has clear service standards, but its employees fail to follow them. This is the gap between the design and the actual day-to-day delivery of the service. The breakdown can happen for several reasons. Employees may not have received adequate training on the new standards. There might be no system in place to monitor their performance or hold them accountable. Alternatively, the company might be understaffed, leaving employees too overwhelmed to follow the procedures correctly, even if they want to. The plan exists on paper, but fails to come to life in the real world of customer interactions. Let us look at a hotel that heavily promotes its promise of a perfectly clean and prepared room by 3:00 p.m. check-in time. The hotel management, has created detailed checklists for the housekeeping staff, outlining every single task required to meet this standard. However, due to recent budget cuts, the hotel has reduced its housekeeping team by 20%. The remaining staff members are now responsible for cleaning more rooms than they can realistically handle in their shift. Under immense time pressure, they are forced to cut corners, and a full clean is not always possible. Consequently, guests frequently arrive to find their rooms are not ready on time or have not been cleaned thoroughly, leading to immediate complaints and a poor first impression. Section 5. Gap 4. The communication gap. Are your promises realistic? The communication gap is a particularly damaging one because it directly involves the promises you make to your customers. This gap opens up when what a company advertises or communicates to the public is different from the level of service it is actually able to deliver. Marketing, sales, exaggerated claims, your flashy ads, overly rosy service imagery. When the reality of the service falls short of these inflated promises, customers feel misled, deceived, and disappointed. This gap erodes trust quickly. It makes customers feel deliberately tricked into a purchase. A classic example of this can be seen with an airline that runs a major advertising campaign highlighting its new extra legroom and superior comfort on all flights. The advertisements feature images of passengers stretching out in spacious seats with plenty of personal space. A traveler, persuaded by this promise, books a flight for a long journey. Upon boarding the plane, they discover that the seats are standard economy size with very tight spacing, no different from any other budget carrier. The extra legroom is only available in a few select rows for a high additional fee. The passenger immediately feels cheated and angry. The airline's communication created an expectation that its actual service could not possibly meet. Section 6. Gap 5. The perception gap. How do customers truly see you? We now arrive at the final and most critical gap, the perception gap. This is the ultimate gap that all the others feed into. It is the difference between the service a customer expects to receive and the service they perceive they have received. This gap exists purely in the customer's mind and is the sum total of all other potential failures. If there was a knowledge gap, Gap 1, the service was designed for the wrong needs. If there was a design gap, Gap 2, the plan was flawed. If there was a delivery gap, Gap 3, the execution was poor. If there was a communication gap, Gap 4, the promises were overblown. Any of these failures widen the perception gap, leading to customer dissatisfaction. For instance, a guest books a weekend at a luxury boutique resort after reading glowing descriptions on a travel blog and seeing professionally staged photos on the website. Their expectation? An exclusive, high-end experience with impeccable service. Upon arrival, they find an average hotel. The pool is smaller than in the photos. The room decor is dated. The staff seems indifferent. The service isn't terrible, but it's not the luxury experience promised. That large perception gap leaves the guest deeply disappointed and unlikely to return or recommend the brand. Section 7. Putting it all together, a simple path to better service. The 5 gaps of the SERVQUAL model do not exist in isolation. They are interconnected and often create a domino effect. A failure at the beginning of the chain almost guarantees a failure at the end. For example, if you have a knowledge gap, Gap 1, and misunderstand your customers, you will inevitably create a flawed service design. Gap 2. A flawed design makes it nearly impossible for your staff to deliver the service effectively, leading to a delivery gap. Gap 3. Meanwhile, if your marketing team is making unrealistic promises, they are creating a communication gap. Gap 4. That raises customer hopes to an unachievable level. All of these preceding failures combine and accumulate, directly contributing to the final and most damaging gap of all, the customer's negative perception. Gap 5. As a manager, seeing this interconnected system is crucial. Fixing one gap often has a positive ripple effect on the others. The key is to approach service improvement not as a series of isolated fixes, but as a systematic process. The SERVQUAL model provides the perfect roadmap for this process. It tells you where to start and what to do next. You do not need to tackle everything at once. By addressing the gaps in a logical order, you can make steady, sustainable progress towards service excellence.